Talk is cheap, unless you're the government, of course. How much do you think virtue signaling really could cost taxpayers? Really, how much could it be? Well, when it comes to electric vehicles, if you aren't thinking in the seven-figure range, you aren't thinking big enough. In a report given to The Rebel, we can see a breakdown of every electric vehicle and charging station that was purchased or installed by the federal government in the Ottawa area. That's just the Ottawa area, keep in mind. We have a breakdown of every government department, and I know that the results are going to blow your mind. Let's start with the Department of Agriculture. It's as good a place as any. Let's take a look. 2 vehicles, a Nissan Leaf and a Ford. $60,000 for 2 cars. Well, that actually sounds a little bit reasonable so far. Of course, you can't have electric vehicles without the charging station, so that number is going to bump up a little bit. Want to take a guess how much dough Agriculture Canada has spent on charging outlets? $119,000 for 4 charging outlets. And that's for 2 cars, keep in mind. Fantastic. I hope you were not expecting these to be put to good use, by the way, because you're going to be sorely disappointed. Plug-in America says it takes about 30 kilowatt hours to charge a Nissan Leaf. Let's take a look at the usage of just one of these units. Let's zoom in on AAC 0004. Well, in the first month, it looks like they charged a vehicle. Twice, in fact. The second month, they charged one vehicle again. Good on them. After that, it took them 5 months to use the unit again, and even then, it was just a little bit of a top-up. For all of 2017, they didn't use it enough to fill up a whole tank even once. The charging station, the $30,000 charging station, sat unused for 9 months straight that year. But don't worry, because in 2018, they actually used it to fill up a whole tank. A tank and a bit, actually. Just amazing. This was Liberal Minister of Agriculture Lawrence McCullier, by the way. If you want to congratulate him for single-handedly putting a stop to global warming, you can send him a quick email. Let's throw that up on the screen here. So don't worry, it's not just Agriculture Canada that has electric vehicles. Altogether, excluding the 29 that were bought for emissions testing by Transport Canada, the government has 41 electric vehicles. Stacking up all of the government portfolios, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development, headed by Navdeep Bains, is on top. It has 7 on its own. Catherine McKenna's ministry only has 2. Frankly, I don't think McKenna is taking the urgent threat of global warming seriously enough. Doesn't she know that the world is going to end in like 12 years if we're not all driving Priuses by then? Back to the brass tacks, the cost of these electric cars is huge. A baseline Nissan Leaf is $43,000 and change. But of course, the government gets bulk discounts. So according to this document, the government is scoring them for about $30,000 a pop, plus or minus a little bit. We'll use that as a benchmark. It's a pretty low benchmark, by the way. 41 cars, not including the emissions testers, lands the government at a cool bill of $1.23 million for electric vehicles. I get it though, the government needs cars and cars are not cheap. Where this gets unreasonable is the charging stations. The Department of Public Services and Procurement Canada took the hit for almost all of the other departments and bought charging stations, and the bill to install their network of plug-ins around Ottawa for 41 cars rings in at $2.8 million. What is so peculiar about this is the huge variation in the price of a plug-in. On November 30th, 2017, they installed 10 stations for $100,000, but on January 23rd, they spent $230,000 only for 2 chargers. What a terrible deal. Who's signing off on this?
The worst trade deal ever made by any country, I think, in the world.
Bear with me while I do some math. It's about $30,000 a car. For 41 cars, that's $1,230,000. Add that to the $2.797 million for charging stations, puts the total bill for this vanity project just over $4 million. $4 million for 41 cars is $98,000 per set of wheels. Outstanding. Unlike Agriculture Canada, procurement doesn't track how much the fleet is getting used, so I can't really report to you if they're even using this fleet at all, but now you know. The Government of Canada could have bought the same amount of 2019 Maserati Ghibli SQ4s for just a little bit less than the cost of Trudeau's electric fleet. Honestly, I would have gone with the Maseratis. For the Rebel.media, this is Keean Bexte. Hey, thanks for watching the coverage. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, your colleagues, your family, and subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're subscribed to us on YouTube, you can stay up to date with the latest news. It's going to be especially important going into this 2019 federal election.